Hey coach, it's Josh from TrainHeroic, and I want to walk through how to quickly create a training session. So whether you're programming on your team's calendar for all of your athletes, an individual athlete's calendar for a specific athlete, or you're just simply in your library creating a program, how you actually create that training session is going to be the same across the board. So for today's example, I'm going to click on Josh's team and I'm going to program on the team's calendar, which means each of the athletes on my team would have access to this. Now I'm going to go to today's date, the 21st, and I'm going to add a training session just by clicking add. Now my eye is going to go right to the middle of the screen where I'm going to add a block. Each training session is broken down into blocks. So the first block is going to be block A, and for me, I'm going to start with the back squat. So I'll search for back squat, and as I search, like Google will try to find the best term or the best movement that's in our library based on your search result. Now, we've got about 1,500 movements in our library, but at the bottom, you'll be able to create a new exercise. If there's ever something that you'd like to name in a certain way or that you just can't find in our library. Okay, so I'm going to click on back squat. Next, I'm going to create a rep scheme, or I'm going to select a prescription by clicking this drop down. You'll notice there's some save rep schemes, and we'll walk through how to do that. But initially, you'll typically click custom table. You'll create a custom rep scheme by selecting the number of sets. Using this drop down, I'm going to select 3 sets, and each of these columns are customizable. So the first reps, I'm going to type in 3 by 5. Weight, I can leave totally blank. But in this case, maybe I'm training more advanced athletes. I'm going to use a percentage. So I'm going to use the drop down, and I'm going to type in 55, 60, and 70%. Now the nice thing is the athlete's actually going to see a real number based on their max, but I can program at percentages. I can throw in some notes here. Maybe it's rest 2 minutes between sets. And then I'm going to scroll down to add another block. So after back squat, I want bench press. Again, I'm going to select a prescription. I'm going to create some custom rep scheme. I want 2 sets of 10. I'm going to leave the weight blank, and I'm just going to say build to a heavy set of 10. After bench press, and you know what? I actually want to reuse this rep scheme. I'm going to save it to my library. I'm going to create my own category. We're going to call this category football. Okay, I'm going to hit save. So next I'm going to add a block, and this time it's going to be pull-ups. So I'm going to add pull-ups. Under the save prescription or select prescription, I'm actually going to select what I had saved, football. And under football, I've got 2 sets of 10, right? So I don't need to retype this. Now, for something that's body weight specific, I might not use both columns. So I'm just going to actually leave this one completely blank. Now, because I have A, B, and C, 3 sections of my training session, I realize, you know what, I'm probably going to be pressed a little bit for time. I'm going to click on this little chain link here to link B and C together. That's going to create a superset. So now I have A and B1 and B2. Lastly, I'm going to add one more block, and this time I actually want to create a warm-up for my athletes. So rather than a standalone exercise like we've been programming thus far, where you can type in reps and specific load and record that, I'm actually going to click on new circuit. And a circuit gives you the ability to simply program in text. So instead of calling this conditioning, this is going to be some prep work. I'm going to call this our dynamic warm-up. And I'm just in text form only going to type in 10 yards of the following. And we're going to go A skips, B skips, lateral lunges, and inchworms. The nice thing about a circuit is it makes it really easy for your athletes to actually say that they did it. They simply hit a check mark to say that they completed it. Now, a couple things that I can do to enrich this circuit is, one, I can add video. So if I click add video, I'm going to type in A skip, and I'm going to click on the A skip to add the A skip video. I can do the same for B skip, and I can add as many videos as I want. So in this case, I'm probably going to add in lateral lunge. I'm also going to add in inchworms. And this warm-up is something that I'm going to do quite a bit, so I'm going to save this circuit to my library as a dynamic warm-up. As soon as I save it to my library, it's actually something that I can search for, just like a back squat or a front squat, and I can recall. So if I come in here and I search for dynamic warm-up, I'm going to see the dynamic warm-up, right? And I can add it at any point in time. From there, I can always edit it, but by having it in my library, it's something that I can reuse. So I'll delete this, and you'll notice that little delete option on the left-hand side of any block. Now lastly, if you notice the summary on the left-hand side, our dynamic warm-up is last. I want to reorder that. So I'm going to move it not from C to B, but actually all the way up to A. So now I have a warm-up, my back squat at 3x5, and then my superset of bench and pull-ups. I can add as many blocks as I want to a session, and by clicking back to the calendar, I'll notice this session on the calendar. Now there's tons of shortcuts that go along the way, tons of things that you can do relating to testing and competing on a daily basis. But this is the bare bones, basic way on how to create a training session. Much more to come on this. Thanks a ton for following along, Coach.